Hey, good afternoon, everybody. So we're going to be talking about the seams and the darts real quick. And in this first video, we're going to be talking about the closed seam. Yeah. And like I said in class, I mentioned we're going to be needing two pieces of fabric, and it's very important for you to understand which side is your wrong side of your fabric. In my case, I wrote WS for wrong side, and what is your right side of your fabric? Right side, RS. Yeah. And you can mark it in the corner of your fabric to say that that's your wrong side, and on the other side, of course, your right side. So we're going to be using those two pieces of fabric, and we're going to put right sides together. That's how we're going to start off the seam. Place right sides together. We're going to start off with a 1 centimeter stitch line from the edge of the fabric right up top. We're going to measure 1 centimeter from the edge. You're going to make a little dot there, and that's going to be your start of your seam line. Yeah. In my case, the machine already has a 1 centimeter guideline for me on the plate here. So in your case, you can sort of measure the 1 centimeter and just make a little dot. And that's going to be the starting point of our stitch line here. And you can go ahead and make another dot in the middle as well. And then right at the end, so that you at least have something to look for when you start sewing. I know it's your first time sewing, guys, so it's a little bit tricky when it comes to how do I keep the fabric, or how do I sew in a straight line. So these anchor points would sort of guide you as to how to balance your eye, I suppose. Yeah, so make those points, and then we're going to start off sewing the seam. Lift up your foot. Most of you guys have the lever here at the back to lift up the foot. You lift up the foot, and then you lower your foot onto the fabric, and then we're gonna start off lowering the needle into the fabric right at the edge. Remember, we're gonna start off right at the edge, not in the middle, not 1 centimeter down, right on the edge of the fabric. Once your needle is lowered down, you want to then make sure that the fabric pieces line up. Make sure it's edge to edge. Once you are ready, remember I said in class you're going to do 3 stitches to the front, 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to press our back tack lever, the reverse lever, and then we're going to reverse 1, 2, 3 again. And then once we are done with that, then we release the back tack lever, and then we continue the stitch. Cool. So that is just to secure the stitch. So what happens, the thread will then lock into itself and secure the fabric, so when you pull on it, the seams won't come apart. Yeah, so that's what the back tack stitch does. It just locks in the stitch line. So we're gonna start off right now. 1, 2, 3, reverse lever, 1, 2, 3, and now we're gonna continue our stitch line. And you want to keep it 1 centimeter from the edge, like I said, and just follow your eye on those anchor points that you made. And then you're going to reach the end of the fabric. Once you reach the edge of the fabric, you do the same step like we did in the beginning. We lock the stitch in, so we're going to do a reverse tack again, 3 to the back again, press your reverse lever, 1, 2, 3, release, 1, 2, 3. Once you get there, then you can just stop the machine and raise your needle up to the highest point. For those that are using a domestic machine, you want to raise your needle up with a wheel. And once you've raised up your needle to the highest point, now you can lift your foot up on the back here. Here's a little lever. Lift it up and push it to the back. And then we just cut off the thread on the edge. And there we go. Now that's our first stitch, guys. That is our 1 centimeter seam allowance. We've sewed from the edge, we back tacked so we lock in the stitch, and we did those 3 anchor points so that we know where to focus our eyes, and then we just sewed all the way down. And right to the edge here, we did the same thing. We did a back tack again so that we can lock in the stitch from the beginning and at the end, so when you pull on it, it's not gonna come apart. Cool. So that's our first step, guys. So now after we've done the stitch line, now we have to overlock that same line. So we're gonna run over to the overlocker real quick and then just overlock that edge. There we go, overlocking. Remember, the overlocker has a blade, so you don't want to cut the fabric, you want to just trim the fabric. That's the purpose of the blade in the overlocker. Cool. So keep it flush on the plate here, and then you just overlock from the beginning, and you just sort of guide the fabric as you are sewing. Yeah, you don't want to push the fabric or keep onto the fabric, you want to just feed it slowly. Yeah, once you get to the edge, you want to cut off your fabric, switch off your machine, and there we go. There's our overlocking stitch. Cool. So now we just have to run over to the iron and just press our fabric so that we can have the seam complete. Cool. Alrighty, so we're going to just steam this down. And of course we want the wrong side of the overlocking facing down. So this is my wrong side of my overlocking, and that's the right side of my overlocking. So I am going to press it towards the left side. So press it lightly like that. Add some steam to it. Once I press it lightly, so I'm going to turn it over to the right side now. As you can see, the gray side is my right side of my fabric, so I can just add a little bit pressure to it so that we can get it right in the seam there. And there we go. That is our seam completed. That's the wrong side of my fabric. All the rough stuff and the stitching shows on the wrong side, and this is my right side of my fabric. Cool.